Design guidelines address the visual component of development. They address such items as the size of buildings, building placement, building height, and site design. They are intended to provide property owners, tenants, and the design community with an understanding of design expectations for the area. Similar to land use recommendations, design guidelines are city policy and not code, and are used to review development proposals that require a rezoning or variance. While the guidelines include specific standards for design, they are intended to allow for flexibility in their application and are typically incorporated into the design of a project during the review process or as a condition of approval. There are two primary categories of design guidelines: residential and commercial. Residential guidelines apply to single detached units all the way through large multi-story attached units such as apartment buildings. Commercial guidelines apply to all non-residential uses. Now we will look at some examples to highlight the main concepts in the guidelines. For a single unit home, the guidelines recommend homes should face the street, and if there is a detached garage, that it should be located to the rear of the site. Front porches are encouraged as well. In many of our suburban communities, homes typically have attached garages instead of alley-facing garages. For attached garages, the guidelines recommend the garage be set back from the front elevation and a front porch. For multi-unit development, the guidelines recommend entrances, porches, or balconies should be provided on the ground floor of the building to activate the street. Variation in design, including varying roof lines, balconies, or bays, are encouraged. Building heights should transition based on surrounding uses. Step down as buildings get closer to single-unit homes. In this example, the buildings transition from 60 feet in height to 35 feet in height, and from multi-unit to single-unit. The design guidelines also recommend parking should be placed behind or next to the building, and that sites should typically include usable open space or a plaza or courtyard. These are examples of guidelines for residential development. For commercial development, guidelines recommend buildings be placed parallel to the street and should be transparent and include high-quality design and materials. Blank walls are not recommended to face a street. For commercial retail development, the guidelines recommend small-scale shopping centers should only have 2 rows of parking and a drive aisle or provide parking behind the building. Large-scale shopping centers may use outlet development to screen the main parking areas. The guidelines also address graphics. In suburban areas, the guidelines recommend monument-style signs to not be taller than 6 feet. And some types of signs are generally discouraged, including excessively large signs, pole signs, and automatic changeable copy signs. Several categories apply to both residential and commercial development. These include open space, connectivity, landscaping, buffering, and screening, natural resources, and public art. Open space guidelines encourage the provision of ample open space on a site and the site configuration. The guidelines on the slide are examples of open space and natural resource recommendations. Open space and natural resources should be integrated into the overall site design of new development. The guidelines also provide recommendations on how to buffer adjacent uses, appropriately screen parking, and enhance development through landscaping. The example on the slide recommends the importance of providing transitions between developments. The design guidelines are a tool used to guide and promote high-quality development within the city. City staff use the guidelines along with land use recommendations to review rezonings and variance requests, which we will continue to discuss in the next few videos.